Welcome to the story of a morning when the earth itself seemed to pause, and then struck back. It was December 26, 2004, and in the rich tropic air off the northwest coast of the Indonesian island of Sumatra, something extraordinary and terrifying was about to unfold. The day began like any other holiday for many. Families gathering, tourists exploring beaches, fishermen hauling in their nets. But beneath the sea, over a fault line thousands of kilometers long, immense forces had been building for decades, waiting. Imagine standing on the shoreline. The water is calm, the sky is clear, the horizon seems endless. Then you feel a deep, low rumble beneath your feet. The ground moves in slow motion, the seafloor shifts, and it lasts for 10 minutes. Yes, 10 minutes of tectonic plate rupture in one of Earth's most powerful earthquakes ever recorded. In that time, a fault line more than 1,000 kilometers wide tore open under the Indian Ocean, releasing the energy equivalent to more than 23,000 Hiroshima-type atomic bombs. The stage was set. At first, nothing seemed to change. But then, far out at sea, the water receded, almost as if the ocean were inhaling. Fishermen looked out in amazement. Beachgoers wondered why the sea was pulling back. A silent minute later, a giant wall of water roared toward the coast. In mere minutes, this wave, this tsunami, smashed into towns, devastated villages, consumed lives. In the hardest-hit region of Aceh in Indonesia, waves reached heights of 20-30 meters in places. It was not just Indonesia. The tsunami spread across the Indian Ocean, reaching Thailand, Sri Lanka, India, the Maldives, even the coast of East Africa, hours later. By the end, the official death toll would exceed 227,000 people. Let's zoom in on one vivid moment. In Khao Lak, Thailand, a hotel cleaner named Sufarat Srilao was with her 3-year-old son. She recalls, "The sea looked strange. A black wave coming from the sea," she said. As the wave rose, she held her child and thought, "I must survive. I must survive to find my son." In that instant, everything she knew changed. Her world collapsed into one primal need: survival and reunion. Another moment. On Sri Lanka's coast, a packed passenger train, the Matara Express, carrying holiday travelers, hugged the shoreline. The first wave hit. People climbed on top of the train for safety. 10 minutes later, a monstrous second wave lifted and smashed the train carriages against trees and houses. Over 1,000 people died in one of the worst rail disasters in history. These are not statistics. They are human lives, dreams, families. Why did this happen? Because beneath the sea, 2 tectonic plates were locked in a silent fight. The Indo-Australian plate sliding beneath the Eurasian plate at the Sunda megathrust. Over thousands of years, pressure built, waiting for release. On that morning, it gave. The rupture lasted perhaps 10 minutes, one of the longest fault-breaking events ever recorded. And here is the twist of scale and time. Many victims had no warning. Unlike some regions of the Pacific, the Indian Ocean lacked a tsunami warning system at that moment. The waves came with little or no notice, catching communities off guard. This catastrophe challenged assumptions: that the ocean is safe, that the sea is our friend, that a holiday beach is carefree. For some, the sea became enemy in less than 10 minutes. And for many more, lives were fractured, futures rewritten. As we move into the next segment, we will travel through the hours and days following the waves, explore how communities responded, how the world changed, and what remarkable stories of survival and resilience emerged from the wreckage. In the hours after the quake and waves, the world held its breath and watched. In the remote coastal villages of Aceh, Indonesia, entire shorelines were wiped out. One village lay silent. The church bell lay melted in the sand, its inscription gone. Trees were stripped bare. Boats lay stranded in the rice fields. Homes vanished. The shock was immediate, the devastation complete. It is estimated that within 10 minutes of the earthquake, the first tsunami wave struck the Nicobar and Andaman Islands. Within 2 hours, they hit Sri Lanka, India, and Thailand. In one region, the sea receded hundreds of meters inland. Residents who ventured out to explore the vanished water faced the worst mistake of their lives when the wave returned. That retreating sea is one of the key warnings, but few recognized it in time. Consider the scale. One estimate suggests that the tsunami energy radiated at speeds of up to 500 km/h across the ocean. Entire communities were told and retold, run to higher ground, flee inland, but often they had no time. When the wall of water hit, it carried debris, salt water, trees, cars, and smashed everything in its path as it surged kilometers inland in places. Not all stories end in death. In Banda Aceh, a fisherman's daughter remembers wrapping herself in rice sacks, hugging her younger brother, floating through the debris for hours until they reached a tree root and hung on until rescue came. Her village was gone, but she survived. These survivors later became guides to rebuilding and remembering. Their memories carry both trauma and the flicker of hope. In Sri Lanka, the image of the train is haunting. The Matara Express, hit by waves, trapped thousands. The first wave inundated the carriages. People thought the train was safe, but the second wave picked it up, smashed it. More than 1,000 died. A vacation ride turned into a tomb. Meanwhile, the tourism beaches of Thailand, luxury resorts, world travelers, were not exempt. In Phuket and Khao Lak, the water advanced so swiftly that holidaymakers had less than 10 minutes to flee. Some locals ran up coconut trees. Some guests looked out at the sea and gasped before the roar came. Vacation memories transformed into survival instincts. What about the world's response? In the aftermath, the humanitarian aid poured in. Tens of thousands of rescuers, medics, engineers, relief materials. The scale was unprecedented. Displaced people numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Schools, hospitals, roads destroyed. According to one report, the tsunami wiped out 139,000 houses, more than 3,400 schools, and over 500,000 people lost their livelihoods. On a global stage, the disaster prompted change. An Indian Ocean tsunami warning and mitigation system was established in 2005 to prevent such blind devastation in future. But there was another twist. While the waves were natural, many of the deaths were caused by human factors: coastal clearance, weakened natural barriers, lack of awareness, absence of early warning. Researchers say that with better preparation, tens of thousands of lives could have been saved. And in the midst of grief, emerged astonishing tales of human kindness. A Swedish tourist, vacationing in Thailand, found himself hauling debris by hand, helping local rescue teams until reinforcements arrived. A village in the Maldives organized itself, using traditional boats to ferry people to higher ground. In India's Tamil Nadu coast, fishermen's wives who had lost husbands formed savings groups and rebuilt their community together. Amid the horror, humanity flickered. Yet the environmental toll was immense too. Salt water inundated farmland. Mangrove forests were uprooted, fisheries destroyed. For many coastal economies, the recovery would stretch years. As the second part draws to an end, reflect with me. The earthquake lasted 10 minutes, but the consequences lingered for years, even decades. The wave may have receded, but the story of loss, resilience, and transformation did not. In our third and final part, we will examine how the world, and you, can learn from that day. How the unforgettable morning of December 26th changed how we think about nature, warnings, preparedness, and perhaps about ourselves. The morning of December 26, 2004, when the earth shook and the sea rose, left a legacy that is still being written. Not just in memorials or statistics, but in how societies respond, how people remember, how we build for the future. One lesson: nature does not yield to human schedules. Our beaches, holiday escapes, seaside resorts, they feel safe, familiar. Yet beneath lies possibility of extreme events. On that day, the rupture under the sea lasted about 10 minutes, but in geological terms, 10 minutes is a long time. The fault broke along 1,200 to 1,300 kilometers of the Earth's crust, the longest rupture ever observed. This teaches us that in some places, the unimaginable is real. Another lesson: the warning signs were there, but missed. Fishermen reported the sea receding. Some locals shouted, "Tsunami!" But there was no system to amplify that. People ventured out to look and were caught. It shows a harsh truth. Technology and systems matter, but so does local awareness. If you live or travel near the coast, knowing the signs matters. A transformation followed. After 2004, early warning systems across the Indian Ocean region were upgraded. Coastal mapping improved. Communities started drills. Towns rebuilt with mangroves, elevated buildings, evacuation routes. But preparation alone is not enough. Turning knowledge into action counts. What does this mean for you? Suppose you live near the coast, or just vacation near one. Imagine you hear that low rumble, the sea pulling back. That moment might give you seconds, maybe minutes, to run to higher ground. The better prepared you are, the faster you act, the higher your chance of survival. Even if you're far inland, the tsunami showed that ripple effects and destruction don't respect borders. Beyond natural disaster preparedness, the story carries a metaphor. When we ignore warning signs, when we assume it won't happen here, we risk being swept away. That could be in financial life, in organizations, even in relationships. One day of trembling earth reminds us that ignorance isn't safe. The tragedy also shows how recovery can lead to change. In Aceh, the tsunami accelerated peace talks and reconstruction. In Sri Lanka, the train wreck led to changes in rail evacuation protocols. Across tourism resorts, building codes were rewritten. Out of the devastation grew new ways of thinking. The pain became a catalyst. But we must also take an honest look at what still remains vulnerable. Climate change, sea level rise, more people living on coasts, more tourism in remote regions, all raise the stakes. The 2004 tsunami may still be the worst in modern history, but it will not be the last. The question is, will we remember? Will we act? I invite you, take a moment now and ask yourself, if the sea pulled back where you live, would you know what to do? If warning systems alert you, will you believe them? If you heard the low rumble beneath your feet, would you react? Because survival often comes down to seconds and decisions. And lastly, honoring those who lost their lives to more than 227,000 people across 14+ countries is essential. Their stories, their families, their towns, they matter. The memorials in Aceh, in Sri Lanka, in Thailand, in the Maldives, they remind us of our fragility and of our duty to build better. So, as this story closes, remember this. A 10-minute quake triggered something unimaginable. But a lifetime of remembering and rebuilding offers hope. The earth shook, the waves rose, but we can choose to stand stronger when the next shock comes. Thank you for traveling this journey with me. May we not only look back at December 26, 2004, but forward, building resilience, awareness, and compassion.